awkward here, but Jimmy, I'll let you take it over a little bit because we had a little technical difficulties, but we back. We got Jimmy on the wheels of steels right now because what bad weather in my area. But Jimmy, when we got off the air, I know we're gonna probably touch on that tomorrow. But you brought up a great story, but and we had some great comments, and I hope those people come back and comment tomorrow about them because Lionel Gar asked you a great question on that. I'm gonna try to archive that for tomorrow. But tell me, it's some high school basketball. The reason we on right now, it's some high school basketball went on. This is some summer basketball game went on this weekend, and a lot of those kids we used to recognizing them. Tell me, tell me what happened this weekend. I mean, several events, but tell me what caught your eye this weekend in the youth basketball, summer basketball
Yeah,
circuit this weekend.
yeah. I'm glad you never asked. Glad you asked. I made it around to three different gyms this past weekend, and I started off in Dallas at the Dallas Showtime event held by Big E, and that event uh, was very well ran. I was there for Friday evening. Shout out to Big E out there, and basically what he did for us, because everybody wants to know about what safety measures are put in place or being activated during these youth events. Well, what Big E did after there were 6 games going on at the same time in the Duncanville Field House, not at the high school. It
Okay.
used to be called the Bob Knight
Mm-hmm.
back in the days. After each
Okay.
game was over, they would usher every players and fans from those bleachers at that particular court out of the gym through the emergency door. So that means whatever door you
Mm.
came in, you're not going out of the same door. You got that? So
Okay.
which was cool, and that was being strictly enforced. So that means now, but however, the people that's waiting for the next game, they were not allowed entry into the facility until maybe 10 minutes before tip off. And Big E, he
Mm.
scheduled his games at an hour and 20-minute intervals. For example, the first game on Friday started at 5:15. The second game was not slated to start until second crop of games until 6:35. You see? And then the last games were at 7:55 p.m. 3 sets of 6 games each. And so but everybody was loving it because during that gap, I'm there and I'm actually analyzing, observing the games, and I'm paying attention to detail as to how many people were actually, how much time were actually going between games, what time the games actually started, what times the games actually ends. That way, I'm studying this to see what the happy medium would be as we go and proceed and approach the George McClellan Invitational next month. Well, guess what? All of his courts are running on time. They gave the opportunity for a couple of the staffers to go, and they had a bottle with the liquid. I don't know what the liquid was in there, spraying the bleachers, spraying the bench area, spraying the basketball, the score table, and whatnot. So that was pretty much the essence of
Did
what.
they spray you? Did they spray you?
No, they
Did
didn't
they
spray me.
spray?
They didn't spray
They
me.
should have sprayed you.
I had my Paco Rabanne on. I couldn't get them to spray me. I was cool with it. I had I had and so, and, and so
That's unique, Jim.
yeah.
And you know I got to ask you this question. When you went to I want to get ahead of myself, but when you went to the Houston events, did this same thing? I want you to guess. Did that same thing occur at the Houston
Well,
events? That's what I'm just trying to figure that out.
this past weekend, as I wrote in the VIP news on RCS Sports this morning, uh, this last weekend was a rare occurrence, whereas Father's Day overlapped with Juneteenth in nationwide. So what happened? There's three guys, young men. Clyde Jackson was annually doing his Juneteenth event. You had Bobby Benjamin, who's spearheads the Houston Raptors basketball program. He had an event called the Us vs. Them, which took place on Father's Day, Juneteenth, one of those weekends as well, but they were combined. And of course, Marcus Sloan had his Lee Sloan Invitational, which always went on during Father's Day weekend because of the namesake of his dad, Lee Sloan Invitational. Get it? So,
Okay.
Because people were wondering why the hell would they have all these events in Houston at the same time? Well, Dad explains it, and then some guy didn't realize, and you're doing an event unless you communicate. You're feeling like, man, I'm not gonna, because each event has equal or greater value to the next guy in his heart. Just like no way you're gonna tell Marcus Sloan to move your event that's in your daddy's name off Father's Day weekend. And then you know where you're going to tell Clyde Jackson, hey, man, you need to move Juneteenth to the 4th of July. I mean, that's not going to happen. So they got together during the closing days and found a solution because you're limited with courts. And that's the thing. Remember that no matter how big one of the event guys, you were limited and restricted by the amount of space that you could reserve in the area. And so the Bobby Benjamin and the Raptors, they had the gym, but they were only going to use 2 courts at the gym. So luckily it fell into place where they all pretty much merged and they picked up the zone, which is on the south side of town, and Harvest Time, Legacy, and the gym were their 4 sites. And the 3 of the events were actually consolidated into one. So in case you didn't know, I think it's all fairness when people say, well, shout out to Marcus Sloan for his event. That was a 3-wheel motion in that event. So it's not, you're slighting the next guy because they all 3 is involved. That's like as though if you come and say the Christmas crossover and you say, well, man, Hicks, your Christmas crossover, well, I'm also assisted by Glenn Smith and Marcus Sloan for the Christmas crossover. So don't discount and ignore them as well. No matter what their role is, they were a team. No matter how many times one guy had to go and do more than the other one, they agreed to consolidate. So now I went by and I looked at Saturday and Sunday. Doug Jones was there Saturday and Sunday. I was in the event on Sunday. So I went yesterday, and of course I'm gauged. I went by the gym. I managed to go by Legacy, and of course they had pretty much the protocol in place at both of those locations, meaning that you had to get your temperature checked before you entered Legacy or the gym. They had a young lady and a young man, respectively, at their post at the front door. The young guy stopped me, too. I said, come on, get me, young fella. And I said, just don't touch my hat. And he put his little thing up under me and going. I said, what I'm reading at? 96 points. No, I need to be, I'm hotter than that. I'm and just joke with him. But so you go inside, sanitizer is posted there. I mean, it's everywhere. You can't miss some sanitizing liquid on the walls. You can't miss the mask was required to come into the facility. However, for those people, I had people asking me, people be in events and a lot of people just try to be messy. They'll ask questions. Well, why they ain't got no mask on down there? Ain't the city ordinance? Yes, in Houston, the county judge introduced a new policy that in all businesses you must wear a mask. But that rule or new ordinance does not take place until this Monday morning. So that means now each one of the facilities, that's up to them to police over the weekend. Their requirement was all spectators must wear a mask entering the building. They was not, the staff of the events were not enforcing them to keep it on while inside. And that's a smart reason that they did not do so. And I'm going to tell you guys why. And these facility owners out there, I understand. But funds are not being generated as you usually are. But let's be real. Every single one of you guys have gotten some type of support and stimulus checks from the government. Every single event facility owner probably in the country has gotten something. So that doesn't give you a reason. If you see in your event is almost is people are inside, you want them to keep the mask on, then you damn well better keep the air running at 72 or 76 or lower. That's the thing, because a lot of people have conditions, and nobody ever think about that. Everybody's facial covering isn't an I-95, whatever the hell the name of the best one is. So that's important, because you don't want them type of problems from somebody that got asthma. And you're not asking them coming in, hey, do you got asthma? You're just recommending if a person is elderly, then don't come. You might want to sit this one out. If a person has a pre-existing a medical condition that involves their respiratory, then you might want to sit this one out. Right? But at the same time, you don't make them come in, because now the mask, as of Monday, today, the masks are required to remain on, because it's not a restaurant. You see? So now, next event moving forward, if you tell these people to keep their mask on, you got to have circulation in the place. I'm not saying the air was not right. I'm not claiming it on nobody. But I do know it was not the normal. One gym was colder than the other gym.
It was a little tart in there. Just a little.
I'm just, and guess what? And nobody knows, because people don't. A lot of times doing events, you might not know to correct the error unless you know there is an error. You might not know to solve a problem unless you know there's a problem. It wasn't a big problem at all. So I'm not blowing it up, but I'm talking about moving forward. Because now you get the wrong police officers patrolling your events as serving as security. Then there could be problems. Now, speaking of security, I saw they had security. It wasn't. I saw maybe one security officer at the Legacy, and I didn't see any actually police officer in a uniform at the gym. And I'm telling you guys, once again, a lot of the facility owners, is that nothing? What you got, Hal?
I just had to add that I did get a chance to go. I didn't see a game, but I assisted. I did some community service this weekend, Jimmy. We're going picking up some. I don't even know what's in the box, y'all. I just thought about something. I could have been winning, picking up some stuff I didn't know. I didn't look in the box. I went and picked up 2 boxes and delivered them somewhere for a program. And I got a chance to go by Harvest Time, and I got a chance to go in there. But Jimmy, I didn't see nobody winding people at that door with the with the temperature thing. And then I saw one security guy over in the corner. I didn't get a chance to go on the inside. I just dropped the boxes and kept on going. But but what I loved about it, I thought about it, Jimmy, because me personally, I'm not comfortable going in the gym with a lot of people yet. Just me. I'm just not comfortable yet. Maybe I'll be comfortable by the time Brian Jolivet's event come July the 3rd through the 5th. And then the Houston National Showcase. And then, Jimmy, I'll most likely, if the COVID is not, if the ban is not lifted, if everything is not crazy, I'll be in town for your event the next week. So I'm looking forward, because I know a lot of people enjoyed this stuff being back in the gym. But Jimmy, I wanted to know, did anybody catch your eye? Did anybody send you some information on some kids?
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you who I heard about. Let me tell you who I heard about it, and I didn't even go. From somebody else. Guess who they was telling me about?
Who they told you about?
The shooting ability of TJ Ford's son.
Hey, I got on my schedule, I saw the bracket that was set, and it had in this event the collaboration between Clyde Jackson, Bobby Benjamin, and Marcus Sloan this past weekend. it had on the bracket of the main 17U division. I looked and you try to sort it out so I can make my schedule so I can know. I knew I was going to Legacy first, but then I knew I wanted to get over to the gym and because the bracket play was being taking place at that facility. So I want to be there and support it. Cause I always tell people, if you win, I'm coming to see you on Sunday afternoon. If you win enough, you don't worry, I'm coming. So I look at the bracket and I say TJ Ford at the bottom quad, but then I say TJ Ford, they were going to play at 10 o'clock. If they win that, they're going to play at 11 o'clock. And if they win that game, they will play in the semifinals. I'm sorry, in the the semifinals at 12 o'clock, something like that. Right?
Wait a minute. How do you play back to back to back to back?
That was a very, in doing events, that was been doing them since in tournaments and putting together brackets since 2001. That's a very risky move that came back to bite whoever the person that made the schedule. I don't know which one.
What you mean by that?
But because sometimes you can get away with it if the wrong team, if that team from out of that quad that has to play back to back to back, remember their opponent isn't playing back to back to back. It's only going to be for that one team.
Oh, then.
You see? So that means you playing back to back to back, but your opponent ain't playing back to back to back. So you really, if you're doing the schedule and you put it like that, you need that team to lose. You need that team to lose. So that way it won't be a problem. That team never lost, which was TJ Ford.
Oh.
And I was scheduling to get to the event to watch TJ Ford play in the championship game or the semi. I was gonna get there right around the semi.
Yeah.
So I got there right around that time, and that's when Bobby Benjamin met me in the parkland and said, "Man, TJ Ford, they're not gonna play. They had just beat the Raptors, and he said not gonna play." I said, "Man, I came to see TJ and support his son and give some eyes on him before the GMI." A lot of kids, what I want to do, get to see them before. So that way it helps me to form my personal expectations of when I see you when the lights are a little bit brighter. And that's the benefit.
Okay.
So I did not get to see him, which sets him back on one evaluation period, so to speak, for myself, as opposed to others. Now, Doug Jones, I think he may have seen him, which is good. Because Doug ranks the underclass.
Okay.
But then the college coaches going to talk to me more so than they are going to talk. And so that's just how it is. So which game you want to play? You want to play the people's game where you're serving the people, or you want to play the college, or you have to serve the college coaches. Remember, I don't get paid from families, from parents, to give exposure to their kids. That's not what I do. That may be what some of these other guys do in various cities or in various areas. That's not what I do. I get paid by the college coaches, sort of like insurance. And basically you paying me in case you need intel. And in case you need intel, so that means some coaches may not need no intel, may not even want to recruit to Houston or Greater Houston during one period. Guess what? You paying me to need in case you may need. And you know how the old saying go, Hatter. It's better to need.
Better to not have it than to have it and not need. Wait a minute. Better.
Yes, that's right. It's better to have than not need.
Kevin Ike said, talk about money.
Yeah.
Need. Yeah. And
so now.
It's the opposite.
So now back as you asking, and let's get to what we're going to do now, guys. We're going to share some of the players who perform well. Now, speaking of TJ Ford program, they would have made it to the championship game against what's the team? Is it JCU? I got to go in my notes. Let me go in my notes. I'm going to tell you exactly who they would play. Who TJ Ford would have played. IJU. All right. So IJU came from the other side of the bracket, and IJU was going to now play the Houston Raptors. Were willing to play in TJ Ford's place, But then they gave IJU the option. IJU says no, we're not gonna play y'all. That's we're gonna take that forfeit and roll with it, just like that. Which they had the option to do so. And you have to understand why. IJU had played 3 games in a row. Not in a row. 3 games that morning, that day. So their kids had already would have been going into their 4th game as well. Not 3 in a row. They played at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. But mind you, guess what time the championship game was at, Haller? At a 4 o'clock tip. Well, I don't know if it was on schedule now. I wasn't charting that particular court where the championship game had been played. However, that's almost a back-to-back for IJU. So IJU's like, we're going to go. We good, man. Give us our medals, our trophy, give us our iron. We'll bounce. So I did not get to see IJU. I did not get to see TJ Ford as a result. There was no game. Now, I did get a chance to watch some other players from over there. I got, and while I was sitting there and I watched a couple of games, and in my notes. But let's go to the front end. And Doug Jones has posted his recap on RCS Sports from that included Saturday and Sunday. And speaking of the Houston Raptors, that team there, we'll go with them first. The Houston Raptors, they got the kid from Hastings. He's a guard. And he was first team, or might have been the MVP of the district, or first. No, he wasn't MVP. First team all district over in that district that he was in with the A-Leaf schools and stuff. Peter McKee, right? Peter McKee. Remember, here's how this goes. When if you're a summer coach or a parent, and if you have a kid that you promote, and you say, listen, Hicks, this is the dude. Now, as you say, this is the dude. Now, when I watch him, I'm expecting the dude. Sooner or later, that guy's going to live up to the hype or he's not. Well, here's what happens when it goes. Well, this past season, last summer, the Houston Raptors had Jordan Ivy Curry. They say Jordan Ivy Curry was the dude. Well, guess what? Jordan Ivy Curry went through and got it out the mud and proved the hard way. He's going to sign with UTSA. But guess what? He fared well. It would be we would have to be ignorant. They call now and say we got another one. We got another one. Now you don't procrastinate on focusing on Peter McKee as you may have did on Jordan Ivy Curry. This is this kid's last lap around the track. This is last summer. So now, guess what? Technically the first event of the summer, this weekend, Peter McKee started off on a good note. He's balling and getting buckets, according to Doug Jones. Remember, I didn't see the Raptors play this past weekend. So you got to give him his props. Another kid, A.J. Ferguson, young kid, had steam coming up on him over at the Cypress area, Cy Park High School. Put in work for the Raptors, right? So
what is his name?
A.J. Ferguson, right? About 6'4", 6'3 and a half. Okay. Guard. These are some guys that's gonna be fun to watch. And these names sooner we're gonna put some stipulations on your ass this year, because you're gonna have a restriction. You're gonna be restricted on how many nephews you will be allotted. You're gonna get an allowance.
I'm done
because you're spending too much.
Jim, I'm done.
No.
I'm done.
No, you got to pick up something.
I ain't got no more.
You're going to get you a starting 5.
I'm done, man. No, Jimmy. Listen. Why? Because what happens when I get a nephew, people start hating on him. So I'm not going to get no more nephews, because seem like when I get a nephew, everybody hate on him. So they're going to be my nephew undercover. I'm not going to let y'all know who my nephew is. I'm not going to let the general public know who he is, because let me talk to my boy and hurt my nephews. So I'm going to play. That's what I'm going to do, Jimmy. I'm going to play like I like somebody else, my nephew. They're really not, and let them help. I can't. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Hey, and I'm seeing the comments on there, guys. What you do? Take out the time right now to share the show to your timelines. I'm about to go and give you guys some more names of players that performed well this past weekend at various events. And remember, the Chop Shop, a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years ago, we made these Mondays very popular because Monday was the day that we recapped the grassroots events over the weekend and gave shine to a lot of young men around the country. Hell, we made the Team Penny Moms popular on the Chop Shop. You remember that? The T-shirts and the Team Penny Moms and all that. So let's continue this annual tradition, right? By showing love to a lot of those who perform. And guess what? This is just another platform where they can get it. Well, I go, and first I want to give a shout out to one of the teams that I saw this past weekend, the Scholar Athletes, right? 16U team, and they went undefeated this past weekend. If I'm not mistaken, I think they went undefeated. Let me see these results. They beat Team Texas Takeover, J. Will, 60-51. They beat the Dream Elite, beat the snot out of the Dream Elite, 67-37. And they beat the Houston Hoops, one of their EYB teams, 59-51. Shout out to the Scholar Athletes. Now, I got a chance to see and talk with Joe, and you know, Coach Joe, he's one of those guys that stay out the way. He runs his program good. He's normally come in as orderly. His parents not known for giving you flack, and they win. They win, and which is a cool thing. How about this young man? How about this? Angel Johnson. He's a little guard, 5'10", from Atascocita. 22 points against the Houston Hoops team. Right? Mason Carlos from Kingwood High School. 16 points in that same game. Right? This kid, Angel Johnson, I'm going to be looking for him during the GMI. Because that means if you sustain, now it's about being consistent. Right? You pretty much led the team in scoring almost in all those games. Pretty much. Then that means now I'm looking for you to keep it going. See, what happens is when people start holding people accountable, that's when things change. I'm going to be watching you. Right? I'm going to be watching. Now, Demi Areola from Kingwood High School. 6'6", Hatter, going to the 11th grade. 18 points. Shout out to Demi over at Kingwood High School showing love. Right? So here goes some more. Speaking of that side of town. Jalen Goodman from Drive Nation Cutter. He's at Summer Creek High School. He's a guard. He played on that varsity from Summer Creek this past season now. So he got varsity experience. So now, understand, and you're playing on the Drive Nation Cutter, which is you're playing up 17U. And the way that you have to guys and think about this stuff, unless you're playing against a sneaker team, 17U is pretty much all varsity players. And sometimes you get psychologically brainwashed thinking, well, he just 15U playing up. Well, if he's 15U and played varsity this past season, that means he was 15U playing varsity against these same guys. Nobody was saying you're a varsity player. Because the age thing is, and I'm almost at the point where it might be time to just unless you're dealing with those young kids, we don't even really need the age divisions no more. Because everybody wants to play up any damn way.
Why not?
I mean, just really just think about it. And that's, unless it's the younger division, because it really matters when they're younger, because they're different levels. I mean, you got one kid that might be playing middle school ball, one kid might be playing elementary ball, and they playing, so I understand that. And the bodies aren't developed, and they're in the process of developing. Do we really even need age divisions anymore? Because 17U is really 18U, isn't it? What's an unsigned
I'm not
senior?
sure.
What is an unsigned senior?
He 18 years old.
17U is really 18U. Guess who I seen? I seen one game yesterday, Hatter. I seen one game. You had Gerald Dokes, Big Allen Institute,
What?
huh? I mean Allen Institute, Institute. Allen you guys know Big Allen from Yates. I don't want to chop his name up. I'm not in the mood to chop up right now. But
Mm-hmm.
they were on a team.
They were on the same team?
Yes. And got the snot beat out of them by a team called Select One.
No.
Shit me. Yeah. See, here's the thing. When you play this Select One team is all 9th and 10th graders. All 9th and 10th graders. Sam Curtis got him something over there. On paper, right now, I haven't seen everybody, but I've seen most of the teams played already. Most of them. I can't disrespect the JL3 team, which they have yet to play. They're not going to play in June, but based on the fact that team advanced to the Peace Jam, right? So I don't want to be prematurely disrespect them. But based on all of so I would say it like this: based on all of the 16 under teams in Greater Houston who played in tournaments, no matter where they played at, Dallas, Austin, wherever, that team is the best one right now. Right now, for 16U, and I'm talking about the Select One. Anybody out there seen Select One? Y'all let me know if you saw them. Now, Chad say, are you sure they all 9th and 10th graders? Well, Chad is like this. According to their, the school and Juice, the coach at the Marion School, this is what grade that they are, and he's an administrator at the school. So if the administrator of the school says this kid is a certain grade, then guess what? That's what I got to accept what the integrity of the administrator of the school. Hell, if Juice was a white boy, we'd believe him at first sight, many of you guys. So I'm going to respect that. And then what I did, I even took it a little further, though, Hal. Guess what I did? I went and looked up, because one of the young men, you always going to notice the tallest and the smallest. So I go and I looked up one of the young men, and just to make sure what it was going to say. Because it's one thing about this, you want to find out, just get one of the names and Google it. And find out where he went to school last year, what grade he was in last year. That way you can understand if he's a reclassified or whatever they want to call it, right? So I went, this one kid named Doak, D-O-K, Mortar. They got him listed as 7 foot, Hatter. He's skinny, kind of like a thun maker, right? I liked him. I watched him play last Sunday. And got it ironically over at Lutheran North High School. Didn't got a chance to see him again. By default, just having to. Now I went to go see him on purpose this Sunday, but I saw him by default the previous Sunday. Watching slender kid, human fly swatter, blocking everything, right? And so this kid dope. Let me get you right now. Let me get you right. There we go. Now, till we get Hatter right. Now, you guys know I'm popping the wheel. Hadn't produced the show in a while, so you guys just bear with me. But Doak Mulder is a 7 foot 2022 young man. And I'm telling you, I went and I looked him up online and he showed up on Max Preps. His high school was in California where he attended, and they listed him as class of 2022. So No matter how old you think that this guy is, I'm telling you what he's listed on. He's not the first name to last. Let's not act funky like we've never had an African or an international player of basketball, young man in basketball, to come into Houston and didn't shine or didn't get the accolades. Let's not understand. Let's not act like it didn't happen, like it hadn't happened before. It had happened at least. We've actually produced a couple of NBA lottery draft picks that was from Houston, that got their starts in Houston. Not necessarily Doak ain't started in Houston, but that came up through and graduated from our high schools. Hell, I'm saying 2, 3 that come to mind. Emeka Okafor, Hashim Thabit, right? And who would be the other one? My mind going blank. Who would be the other? I know it's 3. Who you got there, guys? I'm looking on the boom boom room. Chad, you say, well, you just asking a question. None of your business. I mean, guess what, man? Guess what? We got this team. Now, all odds are against the possibility that they will keep those teams together, right? That the next year, because big fish normally gonna eat little fish to some degree. But I'm gonna tell you something. I watched the Houston Hoops 16U this past week, this on yesterday on Sunday, and the Houston Hoops 16U, they won a game at the in the closing seconds. They lost to a team on Saturday. Doug Jones was there, saw it, called TTG. They're a 16 under team. They mercy ruled the Houston Hoops 16U. Guess what, guys? I remember something that Roland Martin said on Thursday. We had Roland Martin on the Chop Shop. You guys missed it. You can go back and watch it. And he said something that was really intriguing. You know what he says? He said, when it comes to athletes, I strive to be the one way to remain consistent is 2 things that get, and that is, he tells the athletes, if you play good, I'm gonna talk about you. And if you play bad, I'm gonna talk about you. I thought about that over the weekend. So, guess what? Accountability. A team like the Houston Hoops 16U, no matter what division, I just call that team out. That's the team that I watched and that just did not meet expectations. You follow me? They didn't meet expectations as far as what's expected of a team of such magnitude, right? And you got most of your players are the players. Either 2 things have to give. That means if the team is not playing, meeting expectations, follow me on this, guys, then that means that those players, somebody is going to be held accountable. And that means wherever they ranked at, somebody has to fall as a drop. Whether it be everybody or whether it be somebody. But in that starting 5, that means, because it means that if you're not, that collection of players is supreme to the vast majority of players. That means on paper, guys, plain and simple, a sneaker sponsored team, it happens, yes, it does. But you're not supposed to lose to a local non-sneaker sponsored team. It's just the unwritten rule. That's why a lot of them don't really like to play against a non-sneaker program that's the same age. They would rather play against a non-sneaker team that's older. That way now, if you lose, then you say, well, man, we was just playing up. See, that's why I mentioned earlier. It might be time to lean toward the process of doing away with age divisions. That way you wouldn't have to hear that, you wouldn't have to hear that excuse no more. We would not have to hear that excuse anymore. Right? And so it's something to think about. And speaking of the Houston Hoops, give him some love. Adam Stewart, Doug Jones wrote in the VIP News. He showed him some love. So it's not like, you know, and I'll read you what Doug says of what he said about Adam Stewart in the VIP News of RCSSports.com this morning. He says Stewart was very active this weekend. He's running the floor better than before. Also scoring the ball in the post. He was moving as a whole better than he did last year. Would like to see him attack rebounds more, being that he is a legitimately 6'10". He could average 10 points, 10 plus rebounds easily. So that's some good construction within. If you want to take it as constructive criticism, that's some construction. That's what I call it. And speaking of other guys, that TTG team I mentioned a while ago, little Ed Chung Jr. coaches the team. Very well-mannered team. I watched it yesterday. They're one of them teams that are, I call them all in. All in meaning that they so all in the they went and paid the extra to get the names on the back of the jerseys. All in. That's not the name of the team. I mean, I consider that as the parents being all in with this program, meaning that you spent your money to get them names on the back of those jerseys, and so that means now because now look, they're looking good, look the part, and they're kicking butt. They're kicking butt. And I watched this team, and they played the Rights Warriors. They beat the Rights Warriors yesterday. This is the same team who had mercy ruled the Houston Hoops 16U. They didn't play the 15, they played the 16U, EYB team. Right? And, this kid, Sam Bradford, I'm buying stock in him right now. About 6'4", right? Wing, do it all for this program. He was a star in his role. Blue collar player. Didn't come with the glamour, not ranked in the top 10. But boy, if he keep it up like that, it's gonna be some furniture moving around. Anyway, but understand, consistency is what gets my attention nowadays. As I get older in this stuff, you have to, you got to revitalize things. Consistency. So just because a player does it this past weekend, that's not the final exam. Let's keep pushing. So let's stop. Just because a team go undefeated this past weekend doesn't mean they're the best team in the world. Keep pushing. It's going to happen. It's good for marketing purposes. But I like this kid, Sam Bradford. I like what he brought to that team. If Sam Bradford was to leave and go to play for another team, his role, he would be greatly diminished, possibly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Those games were streamed live, people. You got to understand that. Baller TV streamed the games live. College coaches were watching these games. They will be watching these games all the way through events that have live streaming. So guess what? What are you asking for? People see him. They're going to keep watching. Because our report from RCS Sports and amongst others, whoever else saw him, asked guys, are you guys going to make a report? Most reports aren't for public consumption. Now, remind you, just because you don't see a report out there, a lot of guys that have scouting services would possibly make a report and ship it to the college coaches via email after the events, either that Monday or that Tuesday, immediately following the weekend. So I'm just reminding guys, a guy like Sam Bradford, you had a great weekend. That doesn't make you vault into the top 10. Just keep pushing and be patient. I got you. If you got yourself, then I got you on this end. You got to just keep going. And that's, I can't stress it enough. Consistency. Right? And Mindy asked, do you think that all of the original roster showed up for the games, or was the roster a little different due to COVID? Or did you see that COVID didn't really affect the rosters because people want the ball out? For the most part, most of the rosters were there. And that select one team, they had like 2 guys, including another 7-footer that wasn't there. And they were kicking butt. But for the most part, I went and looked at the Houston Hoops roster, the 16U. Most of them were there. They had enough to not. I'm trying to think of the team that they played on yesterday. I want to say Thriving Stars, right? So the Thriving Stars, hell, their tallest guy might have been the second to the smallest guy for that Houston Hoops team. And Thriving Stars was leading by 2 points with 30 seconds to go in the game and had the ball. And I had to go take a phone call and walked out. Houston Hoops won the game. Great they won. Because a loss like that, man, a loss like that, you know, they realize now. Because this Hoops team, they're still trying to piece it together. Yes, but everybody is. So it's not like it ain't like this other team had been playing 17 events before you decide to play. Come on. You got to be prepared. Somehow, some of these kids need to be motivated, right? Somehow you got to motivate them, or they have to find a way to motivate themselves. Now, other players, speaking of the TTG, Matt Lewis. This past high school season, we heard Jake Arnold name as one of the top shooters, right, in the area. This little kid, Matt Lewis, from over at Ridge Point High School. I saw him play a couple of times with his high school team. Now you get to see him from a different perch. He's a 2022. And it's going to be, he's the bar setter after this weekend as far as perimeter shooters in that class, locally, in this area. This young man was excellent in his role of catching and shooting and getting his feet set up under it, using the pump fake when it's needed, not as just a novelty. And really just taking care of he was punishing guys for not playing defense properly. Matt Lewis, Ridge Point High School. Right? Another young man, we mentioned that select one team, right? And I mentioned Doak earlier, but I'm gonna tell you something. The best player on the floor in that game was David Guy, right? David. Now, let me tell you something. He had 3 threes in a row to bust the game open at one point. He's about 6'7", 6'6". 2022. Let me tell y'all something about 2022, that class. 2022 had me kind of nervous after last month when we got the news that Bryce Griggs was leaving Houston. Because now that means I knew that it's going to be wide open. Somebody's going to assume that number 1 spot. PJ Haggerty was number 2 after the high school season. But you have obviously some people that may be moving into Houston. And it's just respect. And that means now we have time, and in due time, we all will see who's going to morph themselves into that arena. You have another young man that's possibly, for 2022, you have Charles Chuckwood and Sean Jones. They play with that Rights Warrior team. They're 2022s. This wasn't a good weekend for, it wasn't a good Sunday for Sean Jones and Charles, because they played against that TTG team, and they put it like this: Sean Jones and Big Charles both are Power 5 conference players. If you have a team and you have 2 Power 5 prospects in the starting lineup, the team that you're playing against at the time has 0 Power 5 prospects, then naturally you would expect that team with the better player, the better prospects, to win. That don't always happen. Trust me, we know. But you would expect that. That's how it's normally supposed to go. So when you see that happen, that means these are your peers. They're the same age. So that doesn't, remember, it's not the final exam. We've seen Sean Jones with Shadow Creek High School. We've seen big Chuck, I would call him the Chuck Wagon. We've seen him at Peyto High School. So guess what? Just wasn't a day at all. It doesn't mean that they are not good. Now, consistency. If they perform and does not meet expectations again, then guess what? Maybe I don't want to hear it. You could be a still Power 5 prospect, and you're just not living up to what's expected of you. It happens sometimes. But meanwhile, this kid, David, he is indeed a legitimate candidate for one of the top players. For the number 1. He's a candidate. Not saying he is number 1. In due time, we will be able to help morph that decision. He's in the conversation. That doesn't mean PJ Haggerty is not in the, that don't mean Chuck Wagon or Sean Jones or the guy or my 2 fellows from down in Beaumont and the Golden Triangle, Beaumont and Port Arthur, Amory and Arsenault, right? That don't mean they're not in the conversation, but out of sight, out of mind for some people. It's like NASCAR. You taking a pit stop, these guys are playing. So they're playing, they're in mind. What I am saying, based on Doak and based on this kid David, these 2 big kids on the Select 1 team, 2022 is really going to be good from Houston. I was worried. 2020, all right. We all right. Not to mention they had a couple more on that team, and another kid, number 30, DeMar Anderson, rugged, wing guard, strong, defends hard. I'm loving that as well. Some other guys who from this past weekend who Doug Jones showed love to, and just so you guys understand, I saw some games this weekend on Sunday. Doug Jones saw games Saturday and Sunday. So I'm combining my assessments and evals with Doug Jones's, providing to you. But you can check them on in the VIP news on rcssports.com. Right? Now, some more key names. We got shout out love. Look, Jalen Collins from Klein Forest High School, right? With the H-Town Gliders. Him and little Percy Chavez. This kid, Jalen Collins, one thing about guard, if you're a guard and you can talk that good smack, and you got that swag and you can kind of back it up a little bit, that's what he was doing. Good swag, a good bag. Now you got my attention. Then now I'm coming back to see you because the talk can't never supersede the game, the bag. You know, what's in your bag, not the bag meaning money in this. So I'm watching you, H-Town Gliders. I'm be watching for Jalen Collins to proceed upward with his development. Also, the Houston Hoops 15U. They proved after this past weekend they are as good as advertised. Remember, this is a 15U team, meaning it's a team of all ninth graders and possibly below, but ninth grades this past year, not going to the ninth grade. Pretty much everybody on this team played varsity at their high school. A couple of these young men started varsity at their high schools on this Hoops 15 team. Remember I said, if we cut out the age divisions, and one of you guys asked me a while ago, would you combine 17, 16, 15? You can call it super varsity, varsity, JV. You can play on the names or the words any way you want to, because some people just like to be able to say and feel like they're playing higher level. Hell, call it a college division. Call it, if that's what you want to do. Call it college. Right? But everybody like playing up. Everybody like playing up. So, this kid, Orlando Harden, he's at Clear Falls High School, class of 2023. His dad is one of the coaches. He's the nucleus of the team. The shortest guy on the team, the toughest guy on the team. Remember the Bad News Bears? He's at second baseman. He's Tanner on this team. It's good. And he's not going to remain the same height. He's going to grow. We just don't know how tall he's going to be. He's going to grow. He don't have to become 6'4". You don't have to become 6'5". You don't have to become 6'2". He can really get just 5'11" and still be, a legitimate Division I prospect. He has offers on the table already. It's ninth grade. Committable offers. Now, from that same Houston Hoops team, Wesley Yates, down at Beaumont United High School, is known as one of the top perimeter scorers in that class. Wesley, business as usual, right? For this young man, getting it in, which was great, because this team, Houston Hoops 15U, what they did was basically kicked enough butt to set the stage for a hell of a showdown with the Houston Defenders 15U. And the Houston Defenders 15U, guess what they did, y'all? Doug, there you go, Doug. Tanner Boyle. That's his name. The Bad News Bears. I couldn't think of that. Doug knew his whole last name. And so you guys, I'm engaged with you guys now. And we're rolling back and having to reflecting over this past weekend. Right? And Rick Goffin say, so when does the new rankings come for 2022 come out? I think that since the cycle has been shifted on this summer, we probably it would probably be fair to put some out around Labor Day-ish, right? And then tweak it and then the rest will come out after going into the preseason, because then you get to see them with their scholastic teams, and then see who's going to transition from the grassroots to the scholastic scene, and we're going there. So that's what I'm leaning at. somewhere around Labor Day, maybe the end of August, because we have seen enough of them. Maybe maybe sometime, I'm not sure. Maybe before Ruck on Wood, maybe right after Ruck on Wood. So that's a good question. I get with Doug, and we'll chop it up on that. Now, I mentioned to you guys the Houston Defenders, 15. They went to Austin in the great what was it? Got a fly in here somewhere. In the Great American Shootout in Austin, the Defenders 15U kicked butt, right? So in doing so, one of the administrators with the program took to social media, Larry, and called out. They claim his team is the best, and don't duck them. If you want some of them, they'll be at the GMI. You can come get it. So let me tell you what happened. Now, a team from Louisiana, the Nike program, the Live On, Randy Livingston's program, his coach struck back and accepted that challenge and then raised one. Said, matter of fact, put me against every team in their organization, every age group that they got one team in. Let me go on and I'm gonna go for the clean sweep. Mind you, everybody didn't respond on social media. Guess what else? Clyde Jackson found me in the parking lot of the gym. Clyde say, let me get in Clyde Jackson mode. Clyde say, man, I heard they was talking shit on the internet. Let me tell you something, Unc. You let the Defenders know that we bust their ass, and I need a tank of gas or something when I leave the gym so I can go buy a bottle or something. That's Clyde Jackson talking. So, I hadn't told the Defenders yet. I just told you guys. Clyde Jackson said, you make sure, tell you what, put us in the pool with their ass and watch what happens. Man, I got a guy that jumped like Derek Griffin. That's Clyde. So, guess what? And I know another team that ain't played yet, that on paper, that the way they've been working out, these dudes is supposed to be good. And that's the JL3 15U. Coached by Marlon Lowe. Right? The 15U team, they have one of the kids from Duncanville, Snorter, the tall kid, 6'10". He's with them. You have Marlon's son, the anchor. He got the ball in his hand, the anchor. They have pieces. They're tall. They're good. And so understand, there's no EYB or EYBL this year. So it ain't no problem with a Nike sponsored program playing against a Nike sponsored program in something like the GMI, because it ain't no this you otherwise ain't no you can't not let that go down. So I got a vision. Got a vision. How about just get one pool, and you put the Houston Defenders 15U, the Houston Hoops 15U, the JL3 15U, and the Live On Randy Livingston team who accepted the challenge, they're 15U. Put them all in the same pool. Everybody goes out of the pool and do what they want to do, but they all gonna play each other. That ain't a bad. That if and here's what happens. Would you expect anybody to lay a goose egg? No. As good as those teams are supposed to be, There should not be one single team to lose all 3 games. You follow me? I'm not saying that somebody's supposed to go undefeated, but if you go 3-0 in that pool, you are the best in this region. Well, if you're one of those Houston teams, you're the best, bar none. That's the championship belt, and nobody can take it away from you. If you go 0-3, then the next time you come talking about how good your team is, see, it's a credit score. Your FICO score gone down, man. You see? Your FICO score going down. You're down in the 400, 500 by now. After that. Because that means now I can't believe you next time you come talking about how good your team is. This is what, one, I'm not expecting everybody. Remember, if you got 4 teams, it's impossible. It's only one team that can go undefeated. It's impossible. Only one can be 3-0. Now, you might have 2 that can go 2-1, or you might have 3 that can go 1-2. But however you do it, it's going to be clear cut in that. So that's the GMI, and that's why I want to give my thoughts on that. Speaking of the Houston Defenders, shout out to the 17U. They took care of business and rolled through their bracket in Austin. They defeated the Sabo Gold 71-56 in the championship game. This kid, another kid who got it out the mud this past weekend, has started the circuit the season on a good note for the Defenders. Kid named Brandon Love. He's a big kid, about 6'9", at Bush High School, 2021, rising senior. He was consistent. Sir Isaac Heron Sir Isaac was very consistent this past weekend for the Defenders, from what I understand and what I've heard. Shout out to them. Patrick Punch showed up with 11 points in the championship game. He was solid. Eisenhower High School. Sir Isaac, by the way, guys, he goes to Houston Lamar High School. Thank you, Tim Littlefield. So he played well, was active. Right? Herb Baker said that's not happening. What do you claim not happening, Herb? What do you say is not happening? I miss, because you were talking about somebody that said a while ago. Well, you got to update me and elaborate on what you mean not happening, because and that way we can proceed on that. But meanwhile, the Houston Defenders, they went 4-0. They won the green bracket. It was only 4 championship brackets in Austin at the Gasso. The Defenders took one, and Texas Takeover Major took one. And they went 4-0 on the weekend, and they beat the ATX Power in the championship game. Guys who played well for Dylan Mackey, Aldine Davis High School, right? Remember those twins from Westbury? Trey Sean and Trayvon Clay? They played with that team Texas Takeover Major team. They guard heavy. They got guards galore on that team. But they shined from up there in Austin, from what I understand. Also, Robert Williams, who's over at Humble High School, 2-sport star, plays football. From what I understand, his coach told me that he has a couple of offers, Division I in football. Smart thing, wide receiver. Athletic, above the rim. Probably touch the top of the square. About 6'1", right? Latrell Moore, another athlete. Remember, he was inspected in the 9th grade at Yates, then went over to Willow Ridge and came back to Yates this season. He's a rising senior, expected to be one of the leaders at Yates this coming season. Latrell is on that Texas Takeover Major program. A supreme athlete, right? And up and coming Ethan Shefflett, from Cinco Ranch, shined up there as well. You guys can see all those write-ups are in the VIP news today. And Stephen Wood say, what happens if they go 3-0 in a Super Pool and go in a bracket play and don't win? Lose to a local team. Can that local team claim to be the best? No. I understand that local team who beat them would think and say, well, man, we beat the team that went. You know why? Because that local team is kind of like going into the March Madness, right? And in March Madness, you always have a number 2 or a number 3 that gets knocked off by number 14, right? Or you might have a 5 get knocked off by a 12, right? So does that number 12? It doesn't mean you beat that team. You were better that day. That doesn't mean you better than the other guys that the other team beat as well. You follow me? There are some teams, for example, this past season that beat Dickinson High School, who went to state. There are some teams this season that beat Hightower High School. If you beat that team, does that make you better than Hightower? Follow me? So that's how you look at that. That doesn't always make so. That's possible if that other team has been beating other people as well along the way. They hadn't lost the consistency level. But just something to think about. And Stephen said, what do you think that local team is going to do on social media? They're going to blast it out and blow it up. And that's the thing. You should do it to help your players, not discredit or discount the other guys. Your players just may have been ranked too low. It ain't always those other guys are ranked too high. Remember that. Your guy just might have been ranked too low. Your team just might collectively have been not respected enough. That team might have been over respected. And that's sometimes, not saying that's the rule, but that could be. And, just leaving an open mind in this stuff. And that's right, Waukesha. Them twins been around. And, man, let me tell you, if those twins, of course, they had family situations, had not left Langham Creek would have been a real problem in that playoffs for some teams. They would have been a problem. R.J. Crawford, them twins, the big fella. Then you got Mansa L on the bench. No, that's not sorry. Mansa, she just sings Side Springs. Charles Amen on the bench. And but we pretty much ran around the horn and gave you guys a lot of the guys who shined this past weekend. And I didn't mention the North Houston Bandits. That was the team that Gerald Dokes and Chooks Isatua played on this past weekend. I said Allen earlier. I wanted to give a correction. Allen was in street clothes. Chooks played. And they also had Willie Williams on that team. And he's ranked like in the top 15 in the area. And the Select One beat them like they stole something. With 9 minutes to go, the score was 50-30. 50-30 with 9 minutes to go in that game. Select One. So, now remember, they're the 16U. Who should I put Select One against in that? Who would you like to see them play? Who's the top 16 under teams out there? Because this team is worthy of getting a contest. So the teams that are in the GMI, you can find them on the RCS Sports app. Simply go to RCS Sports. Well, download the app, and you can. The teams are on there right now. We're closing registration down on Wednesday. Shutting it down. We ran out of space. We're not trying to get more courts. I still have some court space I can have reserved, but I'm not. We want to keep it compact. The GMI. That way now it doesn't make a team feel like they're playing at a location that's not part of the mix. You see? Now everybody's playing at a main court instead of having 15 locations or 10 locations. Nah, which is great for an event if you're an event operating business. But me with the GMI, I don't see none of that bread that from the teams and from the team entry fees that go directly to Marjorie and that foundation, directly to her. and you guys know police officer. And so shout out to everybody out there, guys. I just want to last thing I want to leave you on is on Friday. Remember, I was in Dallas on Friday, and that was no greater experience than being able to see the abundance of love that showed out for Jazzy Hartwell as they laid him to rest. Jazzy, they kind of think last night, yesterday, it kind of touched me because Gilbert Good, I ran across him. He didn't even know that Jazzy had passed away, and they had a close, long distance relationship. They were close, but wasn't, and but Jazzy, they rode him to the grave site in a Rolls Royce, decked out. You can see you can see the casket from the glass enclosure. Before they rode him out of that Rolls Royce, that old school Rolls Royce, right? Had a slab car in front of that, painted the same color as had his name on the door, one of those decals, Jazzy Hartwell on the door, a customized casket that was airbrushed in the colors of his fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha. And as they took him out of the vehicle that one last time, they had his favorite blues song playing. And I don't remember who the artist was, but it was cool. They played it for a little while as they got him and whisked him over to the grave. I got a chance to go and kick it with Jazzy's dad. Met his mom, kicked it with his dad. We talked for about an hour and a half, me and the pops in the backyard. Those are the types of things, guys, that is always good to be there, and you try and supporting people that are allies in the community. And a guy like Jazzy, the story of Dallas basketball can't be told on the grassroots side without mentioning Jazzy Hartwell. So with that, definitely that was definitely touching. And speaking of touching, on tomorrow would be the birthday, I think the 27th birthday of Dion Houston. So shout out to Stacy Houston out there. See, I got it all up here. I remember that. Memorized it. You probably never thought I would remember that this far in advance, right? And that is on tomorrow would be, he would have turned 20, well, he's turning 27 years old. He's looking down on a guy like Stacy Houston, who's in Dallas. Got a chance to see him while I was up there, and at Big E's event. And he's been pushing on through. I see him. Stacy got the number 5. That was Dion's number. Got his own apparel line, number 5 hat. I thought he was gonna go to the trunk and get me a lid to bring back with me. I see, just maybe, maybe next time, I guess. But want to give you guys, thank you guys so much. Now, see, Doug say that he would love to see Select 1 play against the Defenders 16U, JL3 16U, and the TTG. Well, Doug, you got to remix that because we got to have an out-of-town team in that mix, right? Got to have an out-of-town team in that mix. And well, once again, guys, I definitely appreciate it and thank you. We get ready to land this plane. I just want to make sure that I start a customary reignite the Monday custom of recapping and showing love to a lot of the young men and on the grassroots scene from various gyms, and that's what we're gonna do. So no matter where you are, you send us an email with your results from a particular weekend, and I promise you, if you can provide the input, then I can provide the output towards the helping to market, helping to shine light in with the exposure process of your players. And that was one team that I definitely forgot to give a like, show some love to. And I'm glad I just noticed it. And I looked at my notes. And that is a team that will be at the GMI, another one that actually won first place in the Gasso in Austin, right? And that's the Nike Pro Skills Austin team. They went down there and took care of business. And I'm looking at my notes, looking at the roster. They got one kid, Luke Kaiser, Brayton Dawes, Jaden Guevara. Those three, right? And mind you, not to mention Jace Wright and Trendon Stewart, Javon Walker. This Nike Pro Skills team from down in Austin took care of business, and shout out and congratulations to you guys for winning first place as well. And I mentioned Luke. He's a guard, 6 foot, from out of Burnett High School. That Jace Wright and Javon Walker, and they are 2 of the 4 young men that's from that Colleen Ellison team who went up to the Dallas region of the playoffs and kicked butt. They won like 35-5 or something like that this year. That Colleen Ellison team sent our Houston team back to the house. I think it was Westfield they beat, if I'm not mistaken. Beat them for the second time this season. And shout out once again to Nike Pro Skills Austin, who will be at the GMI. A loaded event, but at the same time, it's not. This is definitely not about the GMI. This was definitely an effort to shine light on a lot of the young men and a lot of the programs out there who were taking out the time, because people wonder, well, what are you playing for? Coaches are watching. That's another whole topic. We'll talk about that more on tomorrow. And on tomorrow we'll have a college coach is going to join us, and will help break down some things that you guys may not understand about the recruiting process. We always like to do that. You can never ever master this stuff from the end of a parent. Well, unless you have multiple, unless you the parent of one of the Wick McKay girls, that you got 2 or 3 that come through. Yeah, you can master it then. But odds are stacked against most to master this stuff. So we can always provide coaches to you to get you to help sharpen your pencils. So I get ready to land the plane, guys. That's enough, man. I mean, have you shared the show? You got to share the show. And what I'll do is I got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 1:57 before we land the plane. And so what we do is, while I'm waiting on you guys to share the show, I'm going to look at some of the comments. Of course, Sir Isaac, can't wait to see him. The Houston Defenders, they will be at the GMI. And the showcase division is going to be on point, right? And damn fly, I got to get him, boy. As soon as I get out there, I'm going to get him. And Herb say the Defenders 15U is really, really good. Say Xavier Owens was one of the best players at the event all weekend. And Chance White, big time as well. Hey, I heard, one thing about it, and I explained talking to Larry, say, Larry, and I appreciate one of the things he did. I say, Larry, you keep me posted, but don't just let me know your hits. Let me know your misses as well. That way you're in front of your narrative. That way people come back and say, well, a team lost, like your 16s or your 7. If they lose, then that way now they can't come back and throw it in the face. Because know what happens? Even in a loss, some of your players may have played well. So if you don't mention them at all, then you are suppressing their exposure. Think about it. So that's why it's important. Win, lose, draw. Wins are great. It makes the heart feel good. Make everybody feel good. It makes the ice feel like it's colder in the glass for a coach after the game. But if you lose, you should feel responsible enough to share if some of the guys played well in the loss. That way you can get something out of the loss. It doesn't make a loss feel like if somebody played well. And if more of you coaches would stress marketing or highlighting or showing love to that one kid who took 3 charges. Well, then maybe we can tell people you got a defensive specialist out there. You can't suppress it and keep it to yourself. So that may be a hint, maybe an idea. But that's it right there. And then you're right, Herb. A lot of coaches want to know how the kids play in the losses. They do. So let's not feel, and so what happens is I'm going to be there to protect and do what I can to protect the coach who's letting the public know we lost. Because they don't have to, that hadn't been the norm in the past. But if we make it become the norm, that means you guys can't ridicule if they're letting you know the loss. That means they're acknowledging it publicly by letting you know on social media, we lost to this team, but we'll bounce back, so and so, great game. Okay, you don't humiliate the person after doing that unless that person has invited you to the, or called you to the square and basically said is, I'm guaranteed to win. Now there are some coaches out there that pretty much guaranteeing that may have invited you to do so. Like a John Urich. He loses, I can't hold the water back. Now unless John come on the social media and acknowledge that team that beat him and say, you know what, we took one, maybe we ain't as good as I thought we are. Or at least today. Or at least that hour we won. All right. Shout out, thanks Solo for the Texas Elite 17U. They went 3-1 and they won 3rd place over the Texas Takeover. But which one of the Takeover teams? They have 6 different teams. Make sure you try to get the name of that. That way we don't discount or give to, thinking it is one team and it wasn't. And that's pretty much it, guys. We had the thing right there. I appreciate everything. And, of course, we understand we had extreme, as you see at the bottom, we had extreme weather conditions on the Chop Shop today. And that it prevented the internet. It hindered it on my office as well as Hatter. So, therefore, we tried. He came up to start a show, and it just was too thin on his end as far as the internet signal. So, I went on and took the wheels, and produced this show myself. So not bad for my second time doing it, and I wanted to get some experience of doing it as well. So thanks a bunch, man. I appreciate you. I see John Newsom out there, and thanks a bunch, Stephen Wood. Thanks a bunch all you guys and from helping to help me get on through this, popping a wheelie on this thing by myself. Man, I don't know if I've ever done it by myself this long. on the feed. So appreciate everything, guys, and hopefully I can land this plane without messing things up. So thanks. See you guys tomorrow. Share the show if you hadn't done so on the Chop Shop, man. Peace. We up out of here. Chop Shop. Sliding down Dino's back and yabba dabba doing this thing is what we're about to do right now. 3, 2, 1.